Hello aspirants. US have initiated military evacuation from Afghanistan and it's going to set immense impact in Afghanistan as well as neighboring countries. In this segment, we will try to understand historical background of United States military intervention in Afghanistan from 2004, reasons for its intervention, impact of its intervention, consequences of military intervention and changes it has led in Afghanistan until now. What has happened right now is that the Biden government is wanting to remove all of the military from the Afghanistan, and they have put a deadline, that is September 2021. Now we will decipher this particular information and we will try to know that what will be the impact of the withdrawal of military from Afghanistan. So let's start with the topic and let me explain the process of evacuation of military from Afghanistan and its impact on the neighboring countries, particularly on India. So I am Ritesh Shukla and this is Disha Publication's current affairs analysis. So you would be familiar with the news that Biden administration has clarified that they will be ending their military business in Afghanistan by September 11, 2021. Now, the first thing which we need to understand is what did the United States and the Taliban agreed to. We'll have to understand what were the agreement that were done in between the Taliban and United States. Now, several rounds of discussions took place between Taliban and US, both on formal and informal level, since the Obama administration itself. But it was the Trump government which went ahead with the plan of evacuation of military from Afghanistan. Talks saw many dramatic turns, but finally US government brokered a truce, and in the Biden government, US will be evacuating from Afghanistan by September 11. Now, what was the pact called? The pact, the agreement which happened, that was called as Khalilzad-Baradar Pact. Now, what is Khalilzad-Baradar Pact? This is the pact which was signed between Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan and United States. It is a 4-page pact that was signed between Zalmay Khalilzad, US Special Representative for Afghanistan Reconciliation, and Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar. He is a political head of Taliban. This is the agreement that we are talking about. Let's know about the agreement details and what happens between the two representatives. The first thing was ceasefire. Negotiators agreed to a temporary reduction in violence and said that a lasting ceasefire among US, Taliban and Afghan forces will be part of intra-Afghan negotiations. Second was withdrawal of foreign forces. The United States agreed to reduce its number of troops in the country from 12,000 to 8,600. So within 135 days. If the Taliban follows through its commitment, all US and other foreign troops will leave Afghanistan within 14 months. Now, the third point is intra-Afghan negotiations. The Taliban agreed to start talks with the Afghan government in March 2020. Throughout the negotiation process, Taliban was of the opinion that US is not going to help them because they are just a kind of a deceitful representatives. So, fourth point, that was counter-terrorism assurances. The United States invaded Afghanistan following the September 11, 2001 attack, largely to eliminate the threat of terrorism. So it seeks to halt terrorist activities in the country and also throughout the world, including that is done by Al-Qaeda and the self-proclaimed Islamic State. So this is the most important aspect, that is why US attacked Afghanistan. Now, to understand the whole issue, we will need to answer some questions. The first one would be, why was the US military in Afghanistan in first place and since when? To know the answer, we will have to go to 2001 when the 9/11 attacks happened in the US. United States invaded Afghanistan in response to 9/11 attacks which were carried out by Al-Qaeda and Taliban. Now, what is Al-Qaeda? Al-Qaeda is a Middle East operated terrorist group which is inactive for the outside world now, but it started its weaponry program against the Soviet Union, which was controlling the Afghanistan in 1980. Al-Qaeda rose and fell in between 1989 and 2011. Now, what was the reason for invasion in Afghanistan by United States? United States invaded Afghanistan because the Taliban leader Osama bin Laden was not being handed over to United States, and Al-Qaeda was supporting the Osama bin Laden. Now, what is Taliban? We'll have to know what is Taliban. It is another terrorist group organization, predominantly Pashtun Islamist fundamentalist group that had ruled Afghanistan since 1996. Now, what happened after United States invaded Afghanistan? At the start of the war, in October itself, 2001, US President George W. Bush was of the opinion that they are going to disrupt the use of Afghanistan as a terrorist base of operation and to attack the military capability of the Taliban regime. Now, what happened was US-led forces quickly ousted the Taliban in October, which retreated to Pakistan. From there, Taliban continued to wage an insurgency against the US-backed government, which was established by NATO and United States. Now, let's know what is NATO. NATO is a group of countries association which, when diplomatic efforts fail, it uses the military power to undertake crisis management operation. These are carried out under the Collective Defense Clause of NATO's founding treaty, Article 5 of the Washington Treaty, or under a United Nations mandate. So NATO is a group of countries, basically European countries and United States. So from here we can understand one thing, that US invaded Afghanistan in response to attacks which happened on 9/11 and were done by Taliban leader Osama bin Laden. The US found reason that Taliban is protecting militants from Al-Qaeda and attacked the Talibani region in Afghanistan. This was the reason why US military came to Afghanistan in the first place. Now, let's know about how the withdrawal of military troops from Afghanistan impact India. The idea of dealing directly with the Taliban is a bitter one for Indian population, and for good reason. This was the group that escorted terrorists into Pakistan following the hijacking of an Indian Airlines flight in 1999. Taliban is an extremist terrorist organization whose main motto is to establish Salafist, extremist, hardcore fundamentalist ruling in and nearby areas of Afghanistan, and it have been helping those militant organizations who work against the Indian interest in Afghanistan. US military was blocked to Taliban, which was never letting its planning go outside Afghanistan or Pakistan. If the US military moves out of Afghanistan, Taliban will be free to operate in Afghanistan and will surely go against the Indian regime, as many of the militant organizations fighting for J&K separate state would get support from Taliban, as it is a bigger organization with strong military control. If India wants to protect its fundamental interest of remaining engaged in Afghanistan and being able to support an independent government, it will have to make some uncomfortable choices and reposition its strategic actions with a view of mitigating the risks identified by its own officials and diplomats. Currently, Taliban has ruling over more than 80 provinces of Afghanistan, and the government-ruled provinces are lotless. It states that Taliban has grown bigger both in size and power. In 2011, Congress-led government, then Prime Minister Manmohan Singh took what was called as leap of faith when they supported a program which was talking with Taliban. But now Modi has said, the current Prime Minister, that we also remain committed to our principled position of support of an inclusive Afghan-led, Afghan-owned and Afghan-controlled peace and reconciliation process. So this is the whole information that I would about to provide, where we saw what were the impact going to happen on India and why the United States is wanting to withdraw its military troops from Afghanistan. So this will be enough for this particular video. We will be coming up with many current affairs analysis in the later parts. So thank you.